They ignored the fact that you got chartered flights because of this girl. They ignored the fact that ratings were going through the roof because of this girl. Instead, they resented it because they said, yo, we were doing stuff long before Caitlin Clark got here, and y'all wasn't paying attention then. But now, the young white girl comes along, and y'all want to sit up there and shower all of this praise and all of this attention that was earned before she ever came along. The resentment is understandable, but it's not about Caitlin Clark. It's about what she represents. My point is, grow up.
Just when it looked like the WNBA was finally about to explode, more fans, more money, more respect, they fumbled the bag. Big time. Their golden ticket, Caitlin Clark, the biggest star women's basketball has seen in years, is now injured. And the worst part, it never should have happened.
The Indiana Fever announced that star Caitlin Clark will be out at least 2 weeks with a left quad strain. Clark reported some pain in her leg Saturday after the team's loss to the New York Liberty. She subsequently underwent an MRI and was diagnosed with the strain on Monday.
A strained quad may have taken her off the court, but it's the WNBA's own blind spots that may take the league down with her. Because let's be real, Clark wasn't just averaging 19 points and leading the league in assists. She was dragging the entire brand into relevance. Sold out arenas, surging TV ratings, and sponsorships that hadn't been seen in decades. This wasn't hype, it was history. Ticket prices are dropping, entire stadium sections are going unsold. Viewership has cratered from over 1 million to under 400,000. And while league officials smile for press photos, Stephen A. Smith is losing his mind on live television, calling them out for what they are: careless, short-sighted, and blind to the very thing that made them matter again.
Clark was the WNBA's Rookie of the Year last season and a first-team All-WNBA selection. So far, she's averaging 19 points and a league-leading 9.3 assists through 4 games this season. I could give a damn about that last part. I don't care about her leading the league in assists. I don't care about the points that she's averaging because I already know that the young lady can ball. She is special. What I'm interested in is what somebody tweeted me and asked about earlier today that I want to show you right now. Put this tweet up, please, so our audience can see it here. At 4th Gen Bucci, B-U-C-C-I, writes Stephen A. Smith, can the WNBA keep itself afloat while CC, as in Caitlin Clark, is out?
It isn't just about numbers. This is about resentment, about veterans who saw Clark's rise not as a blessing, but as an insult, about executives who underestimated the golden goose. The WNBA had one job: protect its biggest star. But under Kathy Engelbert's leadership, the league has been careless, and now the consequences are impossible to ignore. Caitlin Clark is injured, fans are outraged, and the truth is becoming painfully clear. It was never Angel Reese drawing millions of eyes to the game. It was always Caitlin, and the league might have just ruined their only shot at saving women's basketball.
Unfortunately, though, the celebration in the WNBA, it was cut short yesterday afternoon as WNBA players learned the harsh lesson: be careful what you wish for. Headline at the New York Post: Caitlin Clark sidelined with Indiana Felines announcing shock injury. Keyword: shock. This injury was shocking, but not for reasons that you may think.
It was never Angel Reese drawing millions of eyes to the game. It was always Caitlin, and the league might have just ruined their only shot at saving women's basketball. But trust me, that was just the beginning.
It's shocking.
Caitlin Clark will be sidelined for at least 2 weeks
with a quad injury.
Footage has emerged how Caitlin Clark got hurt.
He fouls her for the 4th time. It's cheating.
Caitlin Clark is the driving force behind the interest in the Fever and the interest in the WNBA.
Rookie Caitlin Clark was subject to several intentional fouls.
Caitlin Clark wasn't limping off the court after a meaningless play. She was walking away from the very thing she helped build, because no one else in the league would protect her after weeks of taking brutal hits, absorbing elbows, and eating flagrant fouls that would have sent any other player to the locker room or the free throw line. Clark finally went down. While other rookies eased into their pro careers, Clark went full throttle from day one. No rest after college, no grace period, and absolutely no protection. Game after game, she was targeted. Opponents didn't just play hard defense, they treated her like a tackling dummy, and the league? They shrugged. No suspensions, no fines, nothing. The WNBA watched its most valuable asset get assaulted and still nothing.
Fanatics also reported a 100% increase in sales for WNBA specific merchandise. It started with Caitlin Clark. And so now that we know all of this, and we've known that for months, now we get to turn around and look and see what exactly is it that the league will do knowing that she's out for the next 2 weeks. I'm not saying I know for sure what's going to happen, but I have an idea.
And the worst part, this wasn't an isolated incident. It was the final straw in a long line of neglect. But that's not all. The league's silence is already turning into a full-blown collapse. Hard fouls that bordered on assault. Clark wasn't just guarded aggressively, she was hunted. And while fans screamed from the sidelines and social media exploded with slow-motion replays of dirty plays, the WNBA's leadership did absolutely nothing. But the silence spoke louder than words. It sent a clear message, not just to Clark, but to every player in the league. There are no consequences for targeting the face of the WNBA. Stephen A. Smith saw it coming from a mile away. On live television, he exploded, not out of shock, but out of frustration, because he'd been warning everyone for weeks. But instead of hearing him, the league kept coasting, ignoring the fact that its biggest asset was being broken down piece by piece.
Thanks to Clark, Indiana led the league in attendance both at home and on the road. The Fever averaged 17,035 fans at home and over 15,000 on the road. 4 teams moved home games to bigger arenas when Indiana came to town to accommodate more fans. That's about Caitlin Clark. How do we know this? Attendance for the entire league was up nearly 50% last year. According to data from across the timeline, and Indiana led all teams with an average attendance of 17,035. That was up 319% from the year earlier.
And now the damage is done. Caitlin Clark is in street clothes, and the league is left scrambling to pick up the shattered pieces of its momentum, all because it failed to do the one thing that should have been obvious: protect the star who was protecting their future. It gets worse, because the numbers don't lie, and they're already in freefall. While Caitlin Clark was packing arenas and breaking viewership records, not everyone was clapping. Behind the highlight reels and viral moments, a storm of resentment was brewing, and it wasn't subtle. Some WNBA veterans and ex-players didn't see Clark as a savior. They saw her as a threat, a young white woman entering a league built on decades of blood, sweat, and struggle, getting more attention in 6 months than others got in 6 years, and it didn't sit right with them.
She came into the league last year with no break whatsoever between the college game and the pro game and did her thing. Ended up as an all-star, ended up being 4th in the league in MVP voting, was the clear winner for Rookie of the Year. No competition whatsoever in that regard when it was really all said and done. We know what she brings to the table. But people wanted to hate because why? You had a bunch of players in this league that watched this young white girl come along and take the league by storm, and they resented it because they saw the marketing prowess that she had. They ignored the fact that you got chartered flights because of this girl. They ignored the fact that ratings were going through the roof because of this girl. Instead, they resented it because they said, yo, we were doing stuff long before Caitlin Clark got here, and y'all wasn't paying attention then. But now the young white girl comes along and y'all want to sit up there and shower all of this praise and all of this attention that was earned before she ever came along. The resentment is understandable, but it's not about Caitlin Clark. It's about what she represents. My point is, grow up.
And now those whispers of resentment are starting to look like full-blown sabotage, because while the league stood by, letting her get knocked around like a rookie in a pickup game, the people who should have had her back were more focused on proving she wasn't all that. But it gets crazier, because while the rest of the league was whispering in corners, one man grabbed the mic and lit the room on fire. Stephen A. Smith didn't just voice his opinion, he launched a verbal nuke straight at the heart of the WNBA. While others tiptoed around the topic, offering polite cliches and watered down takes, Stephen A. lit the league up with unfiltered fire.
We'll find out. We don't know yet, but I'm going to be really, really interested in seeing, Molly, what kind of effect this has on the WNBA's ratings, because if for some reason there is a precipitous drop-off, then everybody needs to stand down and recognize the fact that the speculation or the assertions and assumptions about her being the golden goose is valid.
He wasn't angry for ratings. He was furious because he saw it coming and no one listened. On live television, he slammed Commissioner Kathy Engelbert, scorched WNBA executives, and called out players like Angel Reese, who still insisted people watch for me too. He didn't hold back. Caitlin Clark is the reason y'all got charter flights. She's the reason those arenas are packed. She's the reason those checks are clearing. And he was right. But what really made his rant hit different was the way he backed every word with facts. He wasn't speculating, he was reciting receipts, the kind the league couldn't argue with.
Became the first rookie with at least 25 points, 5 assists, and 5 rebounds in a playoff game. That was Caitlin Clark. Became the 4th different rookie to play all 40 minutes in a playoff game. That was her. I'm looking at other things. 6 different league television partners. This is last year. This is last season, because this is Caitlin Clark that we're talking about. 6 different league television partners set viewership records that year, her rookie year, for its highest viewed WNBA game. Do you know every one of those games included the Indiana Fever?
This wasn't a tantrum, it was a reckoning. He stood up in the middle of the noise and said what everyone else was too scared to admit. You had lightning in a bottle and you treated her like a spare AA battery. His words hit like punches, blunt, brutal, and undeniable. While the WNBA was busy downplaying Clark's rise and veterans were too busy keeping score, Stephen A was the only one with the guts to say what fans already knew. And the fans loved it. Social media exploded with praise. Hashtags trended. Sports pages lit up. In a league where silence was the norm, Stephen A became the voice of outrage. Not just for Clark, but for every fan who watched the WNBA.
If this is the magnetic attraction that draws viewers to the WNBA, and her absence over the next 2 weeks due to that quad strain is providing further evidence of that, then everybody needs to accept it, stand down, and ride that wave. I'm going to be really interested in seeing how the ratings are going to look without her over the next 2 weeks. Let's make sure we come back and ask me this exact same question. Yep. After she's been gone for those 2 weeks.
Stephen A didn't just talk, he showed the numbers that prove Caitlin Clark is the WNBA. Stephen A Smith didn't come empty-handed, he brought cold, hard receipts. And the numbers, they don't lie. With Caitlin Clark on the court, the WNBA transformed overnight. Indiana Fever games averaged over 17,000 fans at home and 15,000 on the road, a 319% increase in attendance from the previous season. That's not a bump, that's a tidal wave. 4 different teams were forced to move their games to larger arenas just to keep up with the Clark craze. And without her, entire sections of those same arenas now sit empty.
Look, I think Stephen A is 100% correct on this. At the end of the day, you already see people actually saying, hey, I'm not watching for 2 weeks. I'm not tuning in for 2 weeks. And it's really bad news for the Mystics and the Sky, because both of those teams moved those games to big arenas. So it's like, now that she's not playing, what is that attendance going to look like? The viewership, right? The viewership is going to plummet. I already know, because majority of the people that's watching the Indiana Fever wants to see Caitlin Clark. And sad to say it, a lot of them only want to see Caitlin Clark. They don't really care about the entire team.
TV networks felt it too. Caitlin Clark's debut against the Chicago Sky pulled 2.7 million viewers, making it the most watched WNBA game in ESPN history.
2.2 million average viewers tuned in to watch Caitlin Clark and the Fever take on the Liberty.
Peaking at 3.2 million viewers is crazy for the WNBA, even for the Fever.
Became the 6th most watched WNBA regular season or playoff game.
Her regular season games regularly pass the 1 million mark. And when she's out, viewership plummets to 394,000.
Everybody was moving Caitlin Clark games to bigger facilities because everyone was selling tickets. There were ratings. It was a ratings bonanza. Now with Caitlin Clark not playing, what do? Well, when you change your situs, guess what? You can't change it back.
Yep. The tickets are literally half the price, and there are entire sections of the stadium that have not sold any tickets.
That's a free fall, not a stumble. Every one of the top-rated WNBA games last season involved Clark and the Fever, and every record-setting broadcast from 6 different network partners, you guessed it, Clark was the common denominator.
You literally cannot make this up. When she's not playing, ticket prices, merchandise sales plummet. Viewership declines when she is not suited up in uniform. The numbers do not lie, guys. Caitlin Clark is the biggest box office attraction in the WNBA, period. Facts over feeling.
Even the merch tells a story. Fanatics reported a 100% spike in WNBA jersey sales, with Clark dominating the charts. Sponsors noticed, brands noticed, casual fans noticed, everyone noticed, except the league that should have been shouting it from the rooftops. But instead of launching a full-scale marketing blitz, they acted like her impact was a fluke. Like it wasn't real, like she wasn't the reason women's basketball finally became must-watch TV. And now, with her sidelined, all of that momentum is vanishing just as fast as it came. But the part that stings the most? It didn't have to be this way, and now we're looking at a disaster the league could have stopped.
Higher television ratings, higher attendance figures. Ladies and gentlemen, that doesn't come courtesy of a league. It comes courtesy of the players that play in the league. And in her case, she was the most popular, which means she could have helped your bottom line, which means you should have seen that from day one and maximized it. But you didn't do it.
She played every game like the league depended on her, because it did. But instead of easing her transition, promoting her properly, and shielding her from cheap shots, the WNBA stood by and hoped she'd survive the storm on her own. Caitlin Clark wasn't just an opportunity, she was the reset button women's basketball needed. She brought in new fans, fresh money, national relevance, and cultural momentum. She was the bridge between the WNBA's past and a potentially dominant future. And what did the league do with that gift? They let it get stomped out under the weight of jealousy, inaction, and denial. Now that she's out, that bright future has dimmed. The TV deals in jeopardy, the fans tuning out, the hype dying fast. And the question on everyone's mind now? What kind of league lets their golden goose get injured and then act surprised when the eggs stop showing up? The next 2 weeks aren't just about Caitlin Clark's recovery. They're a stress test for the WNBA's entire business model. Can the league survive without her? Maybe, but can it thrive without her? Absolutely not. This isn't speculation, it's math. And every data point screams the same thing. Without Caitlin, there's no momentum. Stephen A. Smith knows it. Sponsors know it. Even fans who barely watch basketball know it. And now, with Clark temporarily out of the spotlight, all eyes are on a league that's scrambling to find a backup plan that doesn't exist. Stephen A. said it best. You can't build a castle and act surprised when the queen moves in. Caitlin Clark isn't just a player, she's the pulse of the entire league. She's the reason sponsors showed up, why arenas sold out, and why women's basketball finally broke into the mainstream. And if the league keeps ignoring that, it won't just lose a player, it'll lose its moment, its identity, and possibly its future.